Hi, I'm David Shepard, and I'm an astrologer slash a star watcher. I've been an astrologer now for about 35 years, and over that time I've done thousands of readings. I've been an astrologer editor-writer for an astrology magazine, a magazine that was quite popular during the 80s and 90s and a little bit into the past millennium. And during that time I had a great, wonderful teacher that informed me a lot about the inner meaning of astrology and really took me into a very, very deep place in the way in which I experience astrology. So much so that I really have come to realize astrology is so much more than just a lot of information. Astrology for me has become something that has a great deal of feeling and really takes me on these wonderful adventures with other people. It's a way of really sharing and coming in contact with what I consider to be the divine. Matter of fact, I was telling my friend the other day, he was asking me why is it that I really love astrology, and I had to say that it was because it really makes me high. And he thought at first that I was saying it because of the stars or because of the planets, but actually it has a kind of transporting, transcendent feeling for me to be so in touch with these greater cycles of the heavens, and at the same time the inner cycles within myself. There are different parts of myself that are illuminated by looking at the chart and thinking about astrology that I just don't have that kind of connection in any other form in my life. So I've really been on this wonderful life, kind of almost really lifelong journey in getting to know myself and getting to know how other people experience astrology. And one thing that I've come to really see about astrology is that it is an important way of going through a change in your life. Most of the people that come to me have come to me at a moment in their life when they're having a crisis of some kind. And they're on this brink, they're at this threshold in which they're about ready to go through a transformation. To me, this transformation is very panicky and hysterical oftentimes to our ego. We get into feelings of aloneness and alienation and disorientation. And then they come and have a reading, and I can see the changes, and I can feel it and hear it in their voice. They begin to sink into a very wonderful connection to their heart. And they begin to access a certain kind of intelligence in their heart that begins to calm and reassure them that there is a greater purpose to what it is that they're going through in terms of the suffering. And that reminds me of why it was that I initially came into astrology. I was at a very difficult point in my life where I was going through a breakup of a relationship, a very powerful relationship, the very first love relationship of my life. And I didn't know how I could see myself as going on in my life, what that really meant to me. So I called up my friend, and they knew of an astrologer. I was fortunate that it was such a wonderful, wonderful astrologer to be introduced to. His name was William Royers. Turned out that he was an astrologer that was quite famous, especially during the 60s, in which he did readings for many rock stars, the Beatles, Donovan, and many others. But more importantly, that was the quality of his vision and where he was within himself, and the extent in which he had really explored the foundation of astrology. He was a Basque, what I would consider to be a Basque mystic. Basques are people that share the peninsula of Spain and Portugal, but they're much different than just the Spanish people, in the fact that they trace their roots back to ancient times, maybe sometimes Egypt or even Atlantis. There is that kind of mystery, that kind of mythos. Certainly William was exemplary of that kind of age-old traditional feeling. And so going to his house, which is out in the valley in Los Angeles, and his house was located in an orchard, And it was a rainy, stormy night, believe it or not, that I actually showed up at his door. And he was something that really typified what you'd expect to see in an astrologer. A rather bohemian look, and I was ushered into this room that was rather gypsy or fortune-telling like, although it wasn't his intention. It was just part of his natural ability. It wasn't a part of a show or anything like that. It was just who he was. And he had these deep, sinking, penetrating eyes that emanated an enormous amount of light and consciousness. We sat down together, and he began to take me through this beautiful mandala. This beautiful circle of my birth chart. I've never seen something so extraordinary as my whole life presented as a map before me. And I was mesmerized by this. It was really quite touching to come in contact with yourself in a way in which someone sees you and you feel seen, and you begin to see yourself. And it's an extraordinary emotional feeling. One that begins to transport you. You begin to feel as though you're lifted out of your ego, and at that moment I began the concerns about this relationship that I had been mourning or trying to mourn in some ways for quite some time and hadn't been able to get anywhere. All of a sudden it began to drop away, and went through the reading, and of course there are many other facets of my life that he revealed to me other than just the relationship itself. But it became such a pivotal moment, and I realized that I was truly touching the divine. I was truly getting high off of this experience, and I wanted to know a lot more about this and make it a part of my life. And so I asked him afterwards if he would help me to really learn more about astrology. And he took me into a side room and really looked me over, and then reached down to the bottom of the shelf and picked up this book, and it was Dante's Divine Comedy. And he handed this to me and said, Dante was a master astrologer. If you want to know astrology, if you want to know about love, you want to know about the things that we were talking about in the reading. By the way, the reading in terms of how he presented astrology was much different than any kind of newspaper astrology that I'd ever encountered before this time. He talked about things like mythos and soul and ego and changes and transformation, much different than anything that I had ever encountered before in relationship to astrology. But he said this is where it all begins. And this man, Dante, understood the journey that you are on, that we are all on. He understood the times in our life when we're in the inferno, the times in our life when we're in the purgatory, the times when we actually can experience the paradise and live from that particular place. And so he said, start with this, read this book. And so I took that home. And then he and I began this wonderful 2-year investigation of the book, as well as a kind of tutorial process in which I learned a lot about astrology. At the same time, I was going through a undergraduate study class at UCLA in terms of physics, and it was a wonderful parallel kind of juggling act that my mind and my heart was going through, and going back and forth between the outer world of physics and how that creates a particular model of the world, and at the same time dealing with an inner world that's really the vision and the purpose of the soul, and really seeing how there's such a strong synchronicity or such a strong parallel between the two, that it became a very strong foundation for me to really begin my astrology career. So I hope that in times to come you'll continue to come back and listen to my story, and I have many stories about astrology and what it's really meant for me, and how I've seen it affect other people. But this is I think one of the most essential ways that a person can really come in contact with who they are and see themselves and appreciate the wonderful beauty of their life and the love that is really there for them to share and experience with others. So thank you.